everyone. Happy Monday. My name is Elise and welcome to my tea table. Happy Memorial Day. I know a lot of people are enjoying the day, beautiful weather, barbecue with the friends, maybe a dip in the pool. Hey Kristen, good to see you. Happy Memorial Day. Today's special Dignified Hospitality discussion is going to be talking about the hospitality in the military, specifically sharing some stories of some fallen soldiers that did contribute to hospitality, and I found some websites and some information to give us some insight into how the military, specifically the Navy, values the hospitality industry. And as usual, always welcome comments, questions, commentary from chat, especially if you have any firsthand experience with this topic of hospitality in the military. I think that's it's an area of the military that often gets overlooked, but it's an important part of it. I mean, hospitality is an important part, or food in general is just a very important part of life and community, society, work, progress. So today I am streaming from serving some hospitality from the open sea. On TikTok, I am in a mess hall. Hey, Himalayan, thank you for dropping in and saying hello. Good morning to you. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Here in the United States, it is a national holiday. That means all of our post offices are closed, schools are closed, and it's a holiday to recognize the soldiers and the people that have served our country and are no longer with us. It's kind of a sad holiday, but a very important holiday for our country. You know, I'm on Mondays. I always come on here and talk about the hospitality industry, talk about how more dignity can be brought to our food systems, from the farms and the soil to the supply chain, to the restaurant, to the grocery store, and finally to the consumer. That's everybody. No one is missing from that equation, and there's no reason when it comes to our food and to our sustenance that dignity is not there. But today, since it is Memorial Day, I thought I'd do a special presentation on hospitality in the military, and I did find some memorials that we can look over and see the contributions that those people have contributed to the military, because it's not all not everyone is a soldier, but everybody is a soldier. And I think that's something that's often overlooked when it comes to people that serve, that do offer hospitality. But I'm going to drink some tea first before we jump into everything. Hi, Gold Mountain Tea. Thanks for dropping in. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Happy Memorial Day. So it's often just generalized. Memorial Day is a day for barbecues. People take advantage of the extra day off to enjoy their time with their family. Especially families that do have members of the family in the military. I didn't grow up with a family that was very. I don't think there's anybody in my. Well, I guess I've got like a half, not even a half cousin that's serving in the Navy right now. But yeah, but some families, military runs deep, service runs deep in their family, and so this is a very important holiday for them. But for others, it's often criticized that the holiday is just an excuse to go out and enjoy the beginning of summer. Figured I'd just like pull up oh wow, you were in the Gorka military. Wow, that's incredible. I always have admired the stories that I've heard of the Gorka warriors. 17 years. Did you work in hospitality? Were you a cook? Or I'd love to hear your experience with that. That is such a blessing that you're sharing that with us. And also, if you can, it would be awesome if you could maybe just like, for people that don't know what the Gurkha Regiment means, if you could provide like just a brief introduction to that, so everybody here in chat can get up to speed to know what that means. I mean, I of course can pull something up and explain it, but I'd rather it come from the source than from me. You worked in the Singapore Special Force. Great. So there are Gorkha soldiers deployed all over the world, I assume. I would assume so, right? Because it's... I'll let you answer that. All right, so this is coming from history.com, you know, generalized resource for history information. Memorial Day is an American holiday. I'll turn my tea on first. Observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who have died while serving in the U.S. military. This year it's occurring on Monday, May 31st, today. Originally known as Decoration Day, it is originally for years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, holding family gatherings, and participating in parades. Unofficially, it marks the beginning of the summer season. More on the history. The Civil War, which ended in the spring of 1865, claimed more lives than any conflict in U.S. history and required the establishment of the country's first national cemeteries. What tea to drink today? By the late 1860s, Americans in various towns and cities had begun holding springtime tributes. To the countless fallen soldiers, decorating their graves with flowers and reciting prayers. It is unclear where exactly the tradition originated. Numerous different communities have had independently initiated memorial gatherings, and some records show that one of the earliest Memorial Day commemorations was organized by a group of formerly enslaved people in Charleston, South Carolina, less than a month after the Confederacy surrendered in 1865. Nevertheless, in 1966, the federal government declared Waterloo, New York, the official birthplace of Memorial Day. Waterloo, which first celebrated the day on May 5th, 1866, was chosen because it hosted an annual community-wide event during which businesses closed and residents decorated the graves of soldiers with flowers and flags. On May 5th, 1868, General John A. Logan, leader of an organization for Northern Civil War veterans, called for a nationwide day of remembrance later that month. The 30th of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lay in almost every city, village, and hamlet, churchyard in the land. The date of Declaration Day, as he called it, was chosen because it wasn't the anniversary of any particular battle. And the first Decoration Day, General James Garfield made a speech at Arlington National Cemetery, and 5,000 participants decorated the graves of the 20,000 Civil War soldiers buried there. Many northern states held similar commemorative events and reprised the tradition in subsequent years. In 1890, each one had made Decoration Day an official state holiday. Southern states, on the other hand, continued to honor the dead in separate days until after World War I. Memorial Day as Decoration Day gradually came to be known. Originally honored only those who
The moments that move you. Don't let psoriatic.
The moments, the commercial just totally threw off my train of thought there. I'm gonna brew my tea now. I'm gonna take a break from reading it. I'm gonna have some beautiful Gushu Shangpur. Need some energy now. There you go. You can see the tea. Big, beautiful, loose leaf tea. Very clean, very organic. Oh, hi Jim. Thanks for coming by. Happy Memorial Day. Glad to see you're gathering with the family, enjoying beautiful weather I'm sure you're having there in Portland. Thanks for stopping by and saying hello. I was just reading the history of Memorial Day, and then going to be doing a little dive into hospitality in the military. It's an important thing. We had a real life Gorkha soldier here, 17 years service, confirmed that hospitality is in fact extremely important in the military. Oh, that smells beautiful. Super flowery. Rich, earthy. And you see, I'm not going to dump out this rinse because this tea is super clean. I know it's organic. I know it's clean. Most, Chinese tea practitioners will tell you that you need to rinse this type of tea, but you don't need to. If you know the source and you trust the source and you know it's clean, good quality, you can certainly drink the first infusion. Yeah, it's a Gushu Shangpur. So of the pu'er tea category, there are two types of pu'er teas. There's sheng and shu pu'er. Sheng is like the raw, so it's like a green tea. That's why the color of this is still quite light. But over time, this will darken as it ages. There's biological fermentation happening that will age this. But the shu pu'er will be going through kind of an accelerated aging process using the same concepts around composting. So when you compost your food waste to turn it into fertilizer, those are biological fermentation processes. And when you heap or you pile all those food wastes together, it creates heat, which accelerates the process. It is delicious. The aroma is fruity, but the liquor is actually quite rich in fruitiness. Or no, did I say the aroma was fruity? No, the aroma is flowery. Yeah, like flowers, like fresh put flowers, like the aroma when you fresh cut flowers, like not the flower itself, but like the cutting the cutting area, that like freshness. That's the aroma I'm getting from this. But very clean liquor. Hi Marco, good to see you. Happy Memorial Day. For decades, Memorial Day continued to be observed on May 30th, the date General Logan had selected for the first Decoration Day. But in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which established Memorial Day as the last Monday in May in order to create a 3-day weekend for federal employees. The change went into effect in 1971, and that same law is what declared Memorial Day a federal holiday. So that's the history, in case anybody was curious. You know, it's surprising how many people don't, especially like in schools, well, actually, when you have the holiday off, it's out of mind. When you're a child growing up, when you're in the place where you're kind of supposed to be learning this type of stuff, it's kind of out of mind because you're not at school, you're not with your teachers on that day, you're with your family on that day. And unless you have like a strong military family, you don't really get exposed to these meanings or histories. So that's that. I know it doesn't have much to do with tea, but it does actually. So, the focus of today's talk is going to be specifically on hospitality in the military. And I'm going to start out this in the spirit of Memorial Day. I did find a pretty heartbreaking story of a woman who was a Navy Culinary Specialist, first class. Her name was Regina R Clark. She died on June 23rd, 2005, serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Right, so she wasn't your typical soldier that you usually think of on Memorial Day. She was a mess hall cook, which after going over her story, I do want to do a deeper dive into how, especially the Navy treats hospitality. It's actually a really important part and often overlooked. Deployed with the 30th Navy Construction Regiment, Naval Reserve, Port Hueneme, California, temporarily assigned. That's the summary of it. Actually, I'm going to read the full thing. Okay, so a Navy Reserve mess cook became the first Lewis County resident to die in Iraq following a suicide car bomb attack outside Fallujah. A Navy spokeswoman told the Chronicles of Centralia. Petty Officer First Class Regina Clark, 43, was deployed nearly 5 months ago with Naval Mobile Construction Battalion 18 out of Tacoma, according to Chief Petty Officer Jerry Robinson in the Navy submarine base in Bangor. A suicide car bomber and gunmen ambushed a convoy carrying female Marines on Thursday, killing 2 Marines and leaving another 4 American military personnel presumed dead. The military said Friday. At least 2 women were killed, including Clark, and 11 or 13 wounded were female. The terror group Al-Qaeda in Iraq claimed responsibility for the bombing, one of the single deadliest attacks against the Marines and against women in this country. Clark, a Desert Storm veteran whose father and brothers served in the Navy, was called up 1 week after the terrorist attacks on September 11th. She spent 4 months on the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz. In 2003, she was sent on a 6-month stint in Kuwait. In March 2003, the morning she headed to Kuwait, Clark spoke to the Chronicle about her pride in going to war to maintain peace. I'm pretty sure I'm going into a hot spot and that's scary, but I am ready, she said. Clark said she told her then 16-year-old son, Kerry, who worried she might not return, I could leave for work on a normal day and not come back. We never have any guarantees. Now 18, he told King Television of Seattle, I relied on her as much as she relied on me. He said he wasn't sure what he would do now. Family friend Kim Elliott said friends knew Clark was in dangerous territory because a few days before she died, a man right behind her was shot. Elliot said Clark was up to the challenge. She is by far the strongest human I've ever known. Not a woman, but human. Clark was born in Kassel, Germany, and attended college on softball scholarships, according to Elliot. After she was laid off from work at Fuller's Marketplace in Centralia in 2004, she went to work at the Cedar Creek Correctional Center near Little Rock. Elliot said Clark planned to retire from the military when she returned from Iraq. That's a sad part of the story. She was done this time. This was it, Elliot said. She had enough money to retire. Janet Barr, who worked with Elliot at Fuller's Market, said she remembered Clark's enthusiasm for playing on the store's softball team as a shortstop. Barr said all of the employees were proud of Clark and her service, but questioned why she would have served another tour in Iraq. I thought it was unfortunate she had to go back again, Barr said. I didn't think it was right. Phyllis Brashan, who also worked with Clark at Fuller's, said she liked serving in the reserves and talked of the fun she had training in Northern California. She was just an all-around American girl. So she was a reserve, meaning that she wasn't, full-time military, but chose to take on this assignment. But she was a mess cook, so very sad story of someone that simply just wants to not only serve their country but also serve the soldiers. So now we can check out this. This is the Navy website. Really looking forward to all of the ads that are going to get served to me after spending some time on this website. And the part of the website that I'm on now is talking about this position that the woman we just spoke on, the memorial of her, she was a culinary specialist. So culinary specialist is kind of a newer term that's been assigned to mess hall cooks. But there's a lot of prestige. There's a lot of prestige and there's a lot of mobilization that can happen within that position, as we will see later. But this is just like the landing page for this job, which is, just like a recruitment website, really. It says, in the Navy, the galley or dining area is the heart of every ship. This is where the crew gathers to eat, socialize, and relax. As a culinary specialist, you run the show by providing one of the key components of every sailor's quality of life. Whether you're serving up a spaghetti dinner or submarine, it's not really a pun, but kind of funny that they chose to use that word here in this context. Preparing a gourmet meal for foreign dignitaries on a carrier, or even cooking for the White House, your work will always be essential to keeping morale at its best, which is important. And that is an element of hospitality. Making people feel good, making them feel safe, making them feel comfortable, especially when you're in these very hostile, uncertain environments. Alright, let's see, responsibilities. Culinary specialists operate and manage Navy messes and dining facilities, providing hospitality and meal services to entire Navy bases and ships. There are two types of culinary specialists depending on whether or not you choose to serve on submarines, both with corresponding responsibilities. So a CS, so that's the shorthand name for culinary specialist. I guess in the future, if you ever hear that, you'll know that lingo, CS. That's preparing menus for meal service and catering service, operating kitchen and dining facilities on shore and at sea, preparing meals for fellow sailors, commanding officers, admirals, senior government executives, and foreign dignitaries, operating the White House mess for the President of the United States, managing inventories, food orders, and financial records, overseeing shipboard living quarters and on-base hotel lodging, serving as a flight attendant to air crewmen, ensuring food safety programs and regulations. Nothing in here about serving tea. That's too bad. Here are the duties or responsibilities for culinary specialists on submarines. preparing menus for meal service, operating shipboard kitchen and dining facilities, managing inventories, food orders, and financial records, ordering necessary supplies, serving as personal food service specialist for commanding officers, operating and managing living quarters aboard submarines, and ensuring food safety programs and regulations. I could imagine that's a really stressful job, because submarines are like so finite. I mean, even more than ships. The space is finite, so that means that your inventories are finite, under a lot of stress. And then the duty of keeping morale high in a submarine is probably a really high stress, because submarines, man, it's finite everything. It's like infinite finites. And food can be... Oh, Jonelle, thank you for coming. Happy Memorial Day. Thanks for stopping by. So Jonelle says submarines always have the best food. Well, I would think that having good food is a big priority, not only for these culinary specialists, but for like anybody higher in command, because they want to keep everybody's morale high with great cooks and bakers. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of dignity in doing this work, and like I don't think that there's any shortage of high stress or like crazy work hours, right? Because if you've got breakfast going on, you've got to wake up at least 3 hours before everybody's to have breakfast. So, like, your hours are probably stressful, but I'd assume in those environments that your work is highly respected, maybe even more so than in fine dining, where in fine dining is like there's this assumption, you know, I'm paying for it, so I deserve the best service, or I deserve the best quality. You know, when you're all in the same boat, literally, and you're being offered something really delicious and in a timely way and with respect, yeah, there's probably a lot of appreciation there. Jonelle, you spent time on a submarine? I did not know that, and I'm sorry I didn't know that. Especially sorry if you've told me that before. But yeah, I'm finding this all very fascinating. Oh, that's incredible, Jonelle. Thanks for sharing that experience. You were assigned to 3 different aircraft carriers, and always made sure to befriend the mess cooks. I would think so, yeah. Always want to stay on their good side. Yeah, I mean, I've been in a situation. I've never been like in the military. I've never been to like prison or anything like that. But like when I was in the Peace Corps, there would be extended periods of time, you know, day after day of feeling isolated, feeling lonely and sad, and food was like the one thing every time, just picked up your spirits. So it's like in these kind of environments, yeah, the mess cooks or the culinary specialists, I think that's the term in the Navy there. Back in like 2007 or something, they started using that term to address mess cooks. Culinary specialists work as part of a team in kitchens, dining areas, living quarters, and food service storerooms aboard ships and onshore bases. Culinary specialists submarines have the opportunity to serve aboard submarines. Upon completion of the initial 7 to 9 week training at Recruit Training Command Great Lakes, known as Boot Camp, you'll report for specialized training, including Class A Technical School, which is 5 weeks, in Fort Lee, Virginia, for instruction and training in food preparation, nutrition, and dining services. Oh, hey, Nick. How's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Oh, it's so good to see you. Oh, thanks for coming by. Thanks for the raid. I hope you had a good.
How's it going?
I hope you had a good. Oh, sorry about that. My audio
Thanks
is.
for the raid. I hope you had.
Happy Memorial Day. We have a national holiday going on in the U.S. right now. I think you're fully aware of, and so I'm taking the opportunity to address hospitality in the military. How was your stream, Nick? I dropped in for a second and then had to leave. Post Victoria Day. I'm gonna look that up. I don't know this day. I like learning new things. I'm looking it up right now. The Queen's birthday? Is there association with like memorializing fallen soldiers or anything like that with that holiday, Nick? Hey, Bland. Thanks for coming by, Bland. Good to meet you. Nice to meet you. Praise the Queen. I had no idea about that, Nick. I had no idea that the Queen was celebrated in Canada. You learn something every day. Praise the Nick, that's for sure. Yeah, praise the Nick. Get a little disco ball spin for that one. Everywhere with poppies. Oh, that's nice. It's going good. So here in the U.S., the last Monday of every May, we have a federal holiday, which means all of our post offices are closed, our schools are closed, and memorializing the fallen soldiers. It started after the Civil War. That was when, because there was a lot of fallen soldiers after the Civil War. But on Mondays, I usually stream talking about dignified hospitality. So talking about the food industry, talking about the restaurant industry, talking about news, and also creating... Yeah, that's what I knew you were American. But you're not in America now. I thought maybe... But you know what's interesting, Nick? And why I kind of did like a little briefing of the history of Memorial Day before when I started the stream, is because even a lot of Americans don't know what the holiday means. Like, unless you have many military members in your family, it's really difficult for children to be exposed to the real meaning of Memorial Day. Because it all gets clouded with like hot dogs and hamburgers and like the beginning of summer. Which, is true too. It is the beginning of summer, so we've made it through the cold. We're ready to be like burning hot here in Las Vegas, at least. I think it's like we actually aren't that hot. We're still only at like 97 Fahrenheit, which is not that hot. I'm still in my warehouse, which has no AC. I only have a swamp cooler and now my fan, and I'm doing okay so far. I think 10 more degrees and I'm gonna have to figure out something else. But yeah, we're about to get super hot here. Yep, nice and warm, Bland, are you in America? Are you American? Or I should say, from the United States? There people are that seriously do get offended with that address of being American. Because the Americas are a very large area that include many different countries. Yeah, well, I hope you're enjoying your day off, Bland. Enjoy some time in beautiful weather. If you are memorializing any family members or loved ones, many blessings. We just went over a story of a woman that was serving as a culinary specialist. So that's what I'm looking at now. This here is the U.S. Navy website, which has listed the recruitment information for culinary specialists, which are basically like mess cooks. I remember the first time I ever traveled internationally, I went to Costa Rica. And that was the first time that I heard somebody like legitimately, authentically be offended. You know, because like I was with a group of college students from my food science program. And we just casually just kept calling ourselves Americans to people. And they'd be like, well, we're Americans too. And we're like, oh, you're Costa Rican. They're like, no, we're Americans. And so yeah, ever since then, which was a long time ago, I've always been really cautious about like calling things American, or like, I don't know what the resolution is for that, because like anything else is kind of difficult. It's like, I mean, you can say the United States. Oh man, Costa Rica is like, Costa Rica should be a beacon of education. I think Costa Rica, India, and China should be a beacon of education for a lot of things. The States, yeah, it's the States. But like, how do you turn the States into an adjective for a person? It's like America, American is easy. But then like, statesman? No, there's nothing that would work with the States other than saying I'm from the States, which is kind of long-winded. So that's the challenge. Like, there's no easy fix to it. Yeah, linguistics problems. But yeah, I like to be. It's like almost in every other language, it's very easy. Beautiful country, and you're a beautiful country person. That's a good way. I like that. That makes it quite easy. Earlier in this stream, for Nego, no, that's not it. For beautiful country in Chinese. My Chinese is really bad. Really bad. Is it Nego? Am I like, I know it's either that or Japanese, which is really sad that my Japanese is that rusty that I can't just like immediately. Mago, yeah, it is Mago. Okay, yeah, Mago Ren. All right, that was right. And then Japanese is just in katakana. America. You said Guo, Mago, Mago Ren. Yeah. American person. Oh, I guess that Mago does mean beautiful. That's interesting. I never like connected that. I always thought Mago, well, like it's like a katakana thing, like where it's like, I always thought it was like katakana where it was like the translation of America to Mago. Which tone are they? Because I remember the tones. That was one thing I do remember. like may, right? Yeah, okay, so it is like phonetically sounding like America, but then it has meaning in Mandarin that's different. There's a girl on TikTok that's making videos like that. She's pretty funny. She's making videos where like people in the comments will say, hey, do my name. And so she will like do like the phonetic. Okay, so me guo. Oh, May 3. Okay. May go. That's the best I can get with the tones. Is that how you learned how to do the tones? Like the notation on the tones is just like putting the number after it? Yeah, I made the mistake when I did study Mandarin, and we studied for about 6 months. Like we put some time into this, and I say we, it's like my tea room community, we put together a program where we met 3 days a week, 4 hours every time. So we put time into this for several months, and I hired who I found to be like the best, most qualified teacher. Really nice man, really, really nice. He would come in, he loved hanging out with us. But he was like a PhD Chinese literature professor from like some Ivy League school. I forget which one. Retired. So he wasn't the best teacher for complete beginners because like he didn't have any time to like put into the tones or to like, he would just like jump all the way to the advanced level, and then he'd get like kind of impatient that we were so far behind. That's great that you've put in the proper time. Hi Brian, good to see you. Happy Memorial Day. It's good that you put that time in. I'm talking about mess cooks today, Brian, or what's better known as now and what's more dignified title now is Culinary Specialist. So I was just looking through the recruitment website on the Navy. Looking at, well, now I'm looking at the training that's offered to culinary specialists. It was pretty great earlier in the stream. We had somebody join from Nepal, a new friend I have from Nepal, who served in the Gorkha Regiment in Singapore. You're not that old, Nick. I guess the first time I started learning a foreign language was coming up to 20 years now. Eek, eek. I need to learn more. Actually, I was listening to a really incredible, maybe we're around the same age. I'm 37. I'm 37. I was listening to oh, so you're 36, you're almost 37 in 3 weeks? Wow. Yeah, I turned 38 in September. So I got some age on you, Nick. But yeah, we're about the same age. That's cool. That's cool. Old fogies on Twitch. I don't feel bad about that. I'm quite content with my experience and my position in life. I can be young. I'm still young at heart. I feel like ever since I made the decision, even before making the decision to become an entrepreneur, let me leave this article for a second. I'm streaming from the boat, you know, offering hospitality in the open seas. Ever since I joined the Peace Corps, basically, whenever I made that conscious decision that I was gonna detour myself from my career path, I feel like I haven't like aged since then. I've become more mature, but it's weird because it's like your status in life, you know, had I stayed on my career path being 37 years old, I'd be a very different person, feeling a very different age. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for how I feel now. But yeah, I was listening to somebody named Gunter Polly, sorry. Youngins, yeah, Brian, sorry. Yeah, it's okay. People confuse me with like a 25-year-old all the time. I'm like, nope. I'm almost 40. I'm middle-aged. Yeah, embrace it. But then at the same time, also, I think like embracing big steps in life are big too. Like I'm personally like the pandemic has helped me like kick my energy into gear that I'm ready to like have new priorities in life. I think that's the best way. Like, I don't think that like my values or my convictions or like my work is going to change, but the priorities are going to be different because, I'm not having as much fun hanging out with 25-year-olds that I used to. So, partying less. It's feeling good. I'm like not feeling any FOMO at all. Because like before the pandemic, like live music and art and culture were like super important to me. Like they were the most important. It's like any weeknight I could not, even weekend night, I could not imagine not being out, like consuming some type of cultural art or music and socializing, and now that things have returned to normal here in Vegas for a while now, and I've probably gone out like twice and it felt good and it was low key and that felt good, and I'm just like quite content. Like there was no FOMO, there has been no FOMO. Yeah, so the pandemic has helped with that, which I feel is good for me personally because now it's like, okay, now I can like be more of an adult. Like by the time I turn 40, I can actually feel like I'm 40, I hope. I don't know. That's funny, Brian. Brian says he gets confused for being either ancient or much younger. I think that's where I'm going to end up. Like whenever I am like in my 50s and I'm full on gray, like I know I'm gonna be full on gray. I've never dyed my hair in my life. I have no plan of ever starting to. So, my physical presentation is definitely going to be old, ancient looking, or I think the better term is mystic. I think that'll be it. But I'm still gonna probably act like a kid. I just know it. I know it. I haven't been consumed by the money or the obsession with that. But yeah, I was trying to tell a story. Last night I was on Clubhouse listening to like a living mentor of mine named Gunter Polly. He's incredible. Look him up. Let me put a link to his info so you can look him up. I first came across his work 11 years ago when I first started my MBA. Was invited to a conference called the Blue Economy. So he started this concept of the Blue Economy. Yeah, quiet gatherings, that's the way to go. Drinking tea instead of whiskey, or maybe whiskey and tea, that's okay, but like drinking tea instead of like a 24 pack of beer, which was like the normal before. But Gunter Pauli started the concept of the blue economy, which was like his personal protest against the green economy, which, you know, really isn't doing much good for the world, simply because it's still money driven. And so the blue economy is not money driven, it's driven by creating business systems that replicate the systems found in nature. And you don't find money in nature, do you? So that's that. But he was doing a clubhouse last night, and he said many awesome things. And I had a privilege of going up on stage to ask a question. So of course I had to take it there. And I'll tell you the question that I asked him, which I'm sure made people uncomfortable, but dang it, we gotta go there. But he had said something about the importance of learning language, because this man fluently speaks 7 languages, like to the fluence level where he can like give presentations at conferences in 7 different languages, but he can read and write 15 different languages. And so someone was commenting about how extraordinary he is for that. And he wanted to remind everybody that like studying language in and of itself is not the value that he's found in his work of learning languages and working with different communities, that it's much more important to focus on the value of being able to communicate. And he says you can effectively do this just by knowing 20 words of a language. So, you know, he was just saying that because he finds that a lot of people put a lot of emphasis and value on like the studious focus of like studying grammar and studying the specifics of a language versus just trying to understand like 20 key words and then spending the rest of your time investing in better communicating. Because he's like, you can travel anywhere in the world, and if you know 20 words, like, it's gonna be a start. Like, it's gonna open the doors for you. Of course, you're not gonna be fluent in speaking to people, but you're going to gain fluency a lot faster than if you spent, you know, that year and a half, like, sitting in the classroom trying to study that way. And that felt really good, and it made a lot of sense, too, because, yeah, I get hung up on that, too. It's like, oh, I'll never be able to learn a language unless I, like, sit and study it like some kind of degree or something, but it's a lot more value just to learn how to like assimilate. But the question that I asked him, which he had a fabulous answer to, and they said that it was recorded and they'll be releasing it as a podcast. So when that comes out, I'll do like a re-listen of the podcast here on the stream, and we can kind of digest what he said there. But the question I asked him was that the biggest surprise that I've come across since doing the work in sustainability that I have over the past decade, like specifically with tea and agriculture and marginalized people in the tea industry, is that the biggest hurdle of change, right? Because there's no shortage of praise and attention that's been given to the work that I do, but like I still haven't built the powerful business that I've intended to build from the beginning. So it's like, why not? And it all boils down to a colonizer mentality, and not just the colonizer mentality that is directly practiced by the people in positions of supremacy, but the colonizer mentality that's been internalized by everyone, including the marginalized that continuously make these poor decisions for their own communities. And I've come to learn, another surprise is that as a white woman, my voice is not the voice to change anybody's mind on this. Right? Because I freaking sit on this stream and I talk about it all day long, and it's also not making any change. Where the power lies is in identifying and amplifying the voices of the people themselves. But it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge to find their voices, to amplify their voices. So how to do that? You know, because this conference on Clubhouse last night was dominated by all white men. I mean, they all have good hearts. They've all been doing incredible leadership work and sustainability for far longer than I've even been alive. But at the end of the day, they're all still white men. And it's like they've been working their hearts out and those changes haven't been made. So it's like, how do we empower the people to reclaim their own power? And yeah, I knew it was gonna like piss some people off because it's like, you know, you guys are still white. But he had a really good answer. Yeah, check him out, Brian. You'd like him a lot. He's got a book called The Blue Economy, which is, it's like a collection of different stories that he's come across where he works all over the world. That's why he knows all these different languages. But he shares all these stories of really great projects that are happening on the ground. So he's doing what he can. Like, he's doing a good work. But, you know, I brought a really important question to the table of, like, the changes aren't happening. Like, the marginalized communities aren't making that change for themselves. You know, and where I've even gotten this idea has to do with a lot that I've been seeing on social media, specifically TikTok. So, you know, here's another great pitch for TikTok. I know there's a lot of crap there and it's like super disempowering to creators and like needs a lot of change, but like when it comes to like the discourse that's happening around feminism, racism, and then where they two merge, which is the intersectional feminism, it's just like mind-blowing. And it's like children teaching me this shit, which is like freaking awesome. And I'm coming to realize that, like, even though I'm doing the work and my heart is in the good place, like, my voice is not the voice that's gonna make the change. And that takes a big shot on my ego, which I'm perfectly fine with. But it's gonna require all of us, like, white people talking heads to, like, step down a little bit and bring the right voices forward to say these things. But his answer that he gave me was fabulous, and I freaking love it, and I can't wait until that podcast is published so I can, like, get it word for word. But basically he said two main things onto my question. He didn't answer my question directly, especially in regards to, like, why are there a bunch of white men on stage? I mean, he didn't answer that directly. Of course, that's a sensitive thing. But he did say that he gave a definition of abundance, which is something that I've talked about on the stream often, that, like, we, like, here in the States, we live in this perception of artificial abundance. It's like, just because we have the money and just because, like, for the past few decades, we have had endless access to all the things that we think are important and that define abundance for us, like, it's not regenerative, so it's not real abundance. But he defined abundance as being your perception of what you have available to you. So it's not like a definitive definition that abundance means like an overfill of food in your cornucopia. It's like your own perception of what you have. And so it's like when I talk about when I lived in Niger and the people had like only two things to eat, millet and sorghum, and they only ate it every other day. And it's like, that's like the opposite of abundance, that's scarcity, but then they're so happy and living as if they're in abundance. It's like, how is that so? It's because the concept of abundance is relative. And then he brought up a thing about unemployment. He says a lot of economic development, international development is centered around the concept of employment. That if you have high employment rates, that means you're developed. And now, like, disadvantaged communities are now at like 30-40% employment rates. And he says, you know, in the truly like sustainable communities that aren't dealing with money and maybe perceived as poor, as living in poverty, have 100% employment, because employment itself is also a relative term of like feeling like you're empowered by your community, that you're adding value. You know, here in our society, it's like employment is like attached to a paycheck and it's attached to these things. When employment could simply be, you know, taking care of the children at home, or, you know, taking care of whatever at home. And it's like when I lived in Niger, there was no homelessness. There was mental illness. And that's usually what leads to homelessness. But like in the family, even mentally imbalanced members of the family that can't function properly in certain roles or whatever, they find their role. They find some way of adding value to the family. And so they're always employed. And I'm just like, whoa, this is awesome. Yeah, being more content with less is the trick. Yeah, I understand. That's the concept behind UBI. Yeah, I support those ideas too. I get so much anxiety when it comes to money. Like, I'm really great at budgeting, but I get so much anxiety about money simply because of this concept. It's like, money comes and goes. Like, why are we trying to obsess about hoarding it? Like, it's just like value comes and goes. And as long as we keep adding value and keep working, like, we can never worry about there ever being like a scarcity on that. But yeah, Yang's UBI scheme, that's the logic behind it. My friend ran for president under like independent party. He jumped in very late. His name is Brock Pierce. I know him from the cryptocurrency world, from Bitcoin. He's like an early Bitcoiner, ex like Hollywood Child's movie star. He was in the Mighty Ducks. That was his claim to fame. He was also the first son, so it's kind of ironic. He was trying to run for president because he played the president's son in a movie. But anyway, he changed the concept of UBI to UEI, which is Universal Earned Income. Right? So like UBI is Universal Basic Income, which they're the same freaking things, but just by changing that word, I think like change the overall understanding of the concept that that it's not just like an income that's granted to you just based upon your citizenship or just based upon your existence, which is a lot of the like conservative criticism of the UBI scheme, is that like, you know, people are just going to be, you know, entitled to an income just for being. And it's like, no, that's not what it is. Like, it's meant to like encourage people to not have to worry about money so that they can focus on the ways that they're going to contribute value to society. And so by changing the word basic to earned, it like changes the whole mentality around that income. I don't know. What do you think about that, Nick? Yeah, it's all just numbers. It comes and it goes. How many freaking friends I've had in my lifetime that cannot save money? And they make lots of money. You know, they're constantly working, constantly getting promotions, but then still can never save money. Yeah, it's just a marketing relabeling thing. Like the income will be the same, the scheme will be the same, but it's like the perception on the scheme, especially for conservatives. You know, we got to be mindful. Like, they have power. They don't have the power, but they have power. They are people. They are relevant and valid just like all of us are. So we have to consider, you know, their perception on these ideas. Americans are so obsessed with work and money. It's true. It's kind of sad, but true. It's a part of our identity now. It's the American dream. That's what it's called. The American dream, that you can come up from nothing and become something. So the way that I said it before and it kind of freaks people out. So maybe it needs some rebranding itself. A lot of times, like, the linguistics is just about changing, tweaking, a couple of the words or whatever to completely change how someone's willingness to think about something, someone's willingness to consider something. But the same concept that Gunter Pauli gave in his response to my question was, to normalize poverty. But I like the way that he put it, because the way that he put it is like, no need to normalize anything. It's just understanding that everything is relative. Hey T-Sleuth, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Happy Monday. That is ironic, Nick. The show, just because it's relevant right now and the new episodes are coming out, but A Handmaid's Tale, I don't know if you're watching that show, if you've heard about that show, if you've read the books. It's sensational. It's a sensational, like, drama show, just totally extreme out there, but there are some interesting concepts like this in that show, and like the United States gets pretty much overtaken. Oh, is it a Canadian author? Well, that makes sense, because like they make Canada look really good. It's like such a unique, like, strong criticism of like where American culture is potentially going to take us in an extreme situation. It's kind of scary. Oh, she's in Toronto. Cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, that makes a lot of sense then, because yeah, just what you said reminded me of like with the recurring theme in that show, where it's like what's called Gilead, but like America or the United States gets overthrown by this like super religious right that devolves the United States into a Puritan culture, very like fascist Puritan culture, and people escape to Canada, and Canada is like and the main character, she just made it to Canada. Spoiled or whatever. I don't know. If anybody's into the show, they've already freaking watched it, so I'm not worried about it. But the main character, who's like the main heroine, which she goes through her own journey. But like the episode of her entering into Canada, like just a starkly contrasts, the darkness and the despair of what she had been experiencing up until getting to Canada, and like almost giving you this idea that like people expect that Canada is like a safe place. It's not fascist, but it's also not as like modernized or as like economically fruitful as Gilead or as the United States. But it's like the opposite. It's like, no, it's completely evolved, completely, wealth focused, but then at the same time still like dignified and having humanity. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, so it's a good pitch for Canada, that's for sure. That's why January 6th was like super scary for anybody that like has been following that show or reading the books. I haven't read the books, but because like the story of the overthrow of the United States, like kind of felt similar to what was going on. I mean, not in reality, but in the moment on January 6th, like as you were like trying to pick up any news story that came out or any videos or media that came out on that day, it just seemed like the worst. I mean, afterwards it ended up being more of a circus show than anything else, but respect to the seriousness of that situation. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Like the power of that concept, which is why I think it's really important to communicate, to include that perspective. Because that movement and those ideas aren't going anywhere. So if we really want to create any kind of progress towards collaboration, towards, true betterment and equality, or whatever you want to call it, they have to be included with that. Everybody has to be included with that. So, if you want to introduce a concept like UBI, that language in of itself, UBI, Universal Basic Income, I think seriously scares people of that mindset. And you'll never have them open their mind to considering that as a viable opportunity. But if you change it and say, no, this is going to be earned. And not necessarily through rules, but just through normal humanity. I thought that was clever. I think that's important. Because it's this thing, what Gunter was saying is even in the poorest of poorest places, there's zero unemployment. They may not be making a paycheck, but everybody is constantly adding value. And that's employment. Yeah, you're right, Nick. I have family members very close to me. I'm very familiar with that. Yeah, but we all got to change. I mean, even my own perception has changed a lot. It has changed a lot. Enjoy your tea. Thanks for the raid. Thanks for chatting. See you later, comrade. Naughty. Words like that around these parts are gotta be careful. Gotta be careful with those types of words. But Nick, thanks for hanging out. Thank you for the great contribution to the discussion today. I am very grateful for it. I'm going to do one last thing for this Dignified Hospitality. I've kind of got sidetracked, which is fine. I always welcome that, but this is Memorial Day, and oh, that's another one, Mark's. I've become interested in Mark's lately. I've started reading some of his stuff, reading about his life and his tribulations and ideas. And I've been questioning a lot, why that name is such a demonized concept. I said it to somebody, and they said, anybody who's read Marx and still thinks that he's a brilliant guy has got bricks for brains, something like that. And I'm like, what? How really? Have you even read Marx? How? But I've heard from a lot of really incredibly smart people that have spent a lot of time studying philosophy, and PhDs that are doing very high level work in artificial intelligence and whatnot. These are smart people, and they all say Marx is a pillar of their philosophical and economic understanding. And I'm like, okay, so there's gonna be some validity there. That's it, Nick. That's it. So just baby steps to a one by one, pick at it. Not to say that it's the ultimate rightness, but we just got to open our minds more. That's the solution. All right, Nick, enjoy your tea. I hope you're gonna enjoy a beautiful sunset with it. Okay, so the last thing that I'll do before ending this stream, this is from Indeed.com. Indeed, Nick. This is reviews of culinary specialists in the U.S. Navy. I thought it would be interesting to look at what kind of reviews have been provided, by people that have worked in this position, like kind of understanding the dignity and the context of working as a mess cook or as a culinary specialist in the Navy. So here's a good review. Enjoyed my time in the Navy and miss it a lot. Never had to worry about getting paid. We are consistently paid every 2 weeks. Only problem that I was super stupid upper chain of command and little to no rest at all. Okay, so this is already noting the chain of command as an issue. It's got a 4.3 star of all the ratings. There's 33,000 ratings. Dang, that's a lot. Mostly 5 stars, but there are quite a few 1 and 2 stars. Seems that the biggest issue is work-life balance, which I think that's probably an issue across the military, because it's like, I think this was the same issue even when I was in the Peace Corps. Like, you feel like you're always working, even when you're sleeping, you're on the clock or whatever. So when you're in that kind of situation, it's really hard to feel like you have like a work-life balance. You kind of just have to lean into that. Then the next issue is management. It's a food place to start off. If you don't know what to do, that includes a diverse selection of jobs available. Assistance is given to employees if they want to pursue another career or enter school. Work a lot, pay a little. Don't join if you have goals in life to achieve unless you were in ROTC and Boy Scouts since a kid. Advancements is through tests, and sometimes if you pass the test, you still don't advance. This person says, great for wanting job security and benefits, had to deal with poor leadership that had no interest in young sailors being well, only cared about putting things in their eval. Working hours are ridiculously rigorous, and a lot of suffer from a sleep deprivation. Oh, here's a 1-star review. I had a rough 5 years. The military isn't something I plan to do again. I spend my whole time stressing and fighting with the boss's favorites. It was a very unprofessional environment where people spread rumors like high school kids. It's definitely not for me, but I do appreciate the things I've learned from it. Oh, here's another 1-star. It's all politics. Whoever is liked succeeds, and all your hard work is ignored constantly. The more you work, the more you give up. They give you to pick up the slack of the people they like. They said no pros, all cons. Well, that's pessimistic. But I think perhaps the dignity in this work is not so much in like the traditional like job advancement that you'd see on something like a job review system like this Indeed.com. But just like Jonelle was here earlier, and she emphasized how important the mess cooks were, and your peers love you. And it's like you get your dignity from your peers. Like, at least you're getting your agreed upon paycheck. There's no issues on that. That's a lot of times the issue in general hospitality industry, employees feeling like they are, not being respected, not valued in the system. Given like inconsistent hours, no benefits. But in the military, that's all built in to the career. But it seems that according to these reviews, there is still like a politics issue with like the chain of command and the hierarchy, which you're always going to find in kind of centralized large organizations like the military or like any state supported office. So this makes sense. Okay, so one last thing, there is some recognition that is provided by the larger organization, the centralized organization, which is like recognition awards. So this is just a program. I think it's like a couple of years old. I'm not going to go into detail of this, but I just wanted to identify like there is recognition, and this also like shows the value and the emphasis that leadership puts into hospitality. You know, it's not just an afterthought, because they know, yeah, it's really important for morale. So this is the Joint Services Excellence in Food Service Awards. This is from 2009. This is like the program from that award service, but you can see here all the different branches have different awards. Oh no, these are all just like the different leaderships. But this is like a good picture of like military hospitality. Let's see, this is the Philip A. Connolly Award. I think these are all just different Army mess teams, culinary teams. Active Army Field Kitchen winner. And these are all the different crews that provide hospitality. They don't look like your standard hospitality worker, you know, standard server, cooks, chefs. But they are, and they're being recognized. And they are in, oh here, look, there's the Las Vegas team, U.S. Army National Guard Field Kitchen runner-up. But they do put themselves into danger, you know, just joining, you know, the Culinary Specialist team doesn't automatically rule you out of being in the line of danger, which we saw in the first. So here's the teams that won for submarine. Their team posing on top of, that's a cool photo. They're all posing on top of their submarines. USS Nassau Gator Bistro. That's cool, they call it a bistro. But yeah, Jonelle, she said she was on 3 different aircraft carriers, and she said the food and like the baked items and everything was great. I believe it. It's like the one thing that you can put focus into that like really can uplift spirit and really make people feel better, feel connected. So that's it. Cool version of Dignified Hospitality today from the open seas, from the mess hall. I'm gonna sign off. I hope everyone is having a beautiful Memorial Day, enjoying their time with their family. If you aren't in the US, I just hope you're having a beautiful Monday. Thank you, Nick, for the raid today. Really appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying your tea now. We got a couple people in here. Let me see if there's any friends streaming. We can go say hello. Oh, not many people streaming right now. You won't say he's streaming, but we just rated him. I've got a meeting to get to, so I think I'm just gonna tune out. It's been really great connecting with all of you. I will see you tomorrow. We're gonna be coming back with some gaming. Started last week with the gaming. A little update on the NFT gaming. I did acquire a Puncto card, so in the next few weeks I am going to be starting to play that game, which is a punk card trading game, card collecting trading game based on NFTs. So I look forward to streaming some of the gameplay on that, or commentary at least, so that we can all learn together about the coolness of NFTs. But I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your Monday, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow evening.